Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bassam Haddad. I am the host of the podcast Flow. This is one of our more exciting episodes because we are hosting the man himself, Omar Shakir, who is the Israel and Palestine director at Human Rights Watch. And our topic today is democracy for some, apartheid for others, the human rights organization's consensus on Israel-Palestine. Omar, كيفك?
تمام. Great to see you, Bassam.
Good to see you, my friend. I am looking forward to our conversation. I know that we talked before. Was it in the West Bank?
I think it was. Yeah, I think we set
Yeah,
up
a
a
few years
recording
ago.
there. That was
And
probably 4 years ago.
absolutely. And I am very happy to speak with you again. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. This is a very important topic which has radically changed compared to 20 years ago. I mean, addressing this topic was a lot more arduous for many, many reasons. And today, this is a topic that everyone is discussing, of course, inside Israel as well, but here in the United States, in Europe, in a far more straightforward and reasonable manner. And I think that having you here with us to address the recent reports, Human Rights Watch and other reports on the matter, is very important in light of what we have been witnessing recently on the ground. But first, allow me to read your bio or parts of it. It's a very long bio. You are very accomplished, and and I'm very proud of you and very happy that you are doing what you are doing. I remember the old days at Georgetown when I saw you, rise up the ranks as a master's student, and now you're basically who people want to hear from on really, really critical issues worldwide. Omar Shakir serves as the Israel and Palestine director at Human Rights Watch, where he investigates human rights abuses in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, and has authored several major reports, including a 2021 report comprehensively documenting how Israeli authorities are committing the crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution against millions of Palestinians. As a result, as a result of his advocacy, the Israeli government deported Omar in November 2019. Prior to his current role, he was a Bertha Fellow at the Center for Constitutional Rights, where he focused on U.S. counterterrorism policies, including legal representation of Guantanamo detainees. As the 2013-2014 Arthur R. and Barbara D. Feinberg Fellow at Human Rights Watch, he investigated human rights violations in Egypt, including the Rab'a massacre, one of the largest killings of protesters in a single day. A former Fulbright scholar in Syria, Omar holds a JD from Stanford Law School, where he co-authored a report on the civilian consequences of U.S. drone strikes. You pissed off everybody, huh? You on U.S. drone strikes in Pakistan as a part of the International Human Rights and Conflict Resolution Clinic. And he is also an MA. He has an MA in Arab Studies from Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service and a BA in International Relations from Stanford. Wow. Okay, Omar, we just talked you up a lot, so you have to deliver. I have no doubt that you will. So, as we were chatting before, and as everyone is talking, there is a new atmosphere worldwide on the question of Israel-Palestine. It is no longer the taboo that it was. It's no longer the kind of topic that just bringing up that topic in certain circles at certain points in the past would be tantamount to like risking one's well-being or job or what have you. Of course, discrimination is still continuing, and we are going to talk about this here and there, but it is something that has entered the mainstream, and there are reasons for that. We would love for you to tell us a little bit, first of all, about the title of this conversation, which is the Human Rights Organization's consensus on the question of Israel-Palestine. Where did it come from? How did it come about? And what are the specific reports that have made a landmark in that regard?
Well, first of all, thank you again, Bassam, for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I really enjoyed listening to your, podcast, and I'm really honored to be on one of them. So, when we talk about the situation on the ground today, we're talking about a moment of, in many ways, unprecedented repression of Palestinians. But at the same time, we have this really unique moment where so many different organizations, individuals who come from very different backgrounds with very different experiences and mandates have such a similar, clear eyed assessment of the reality on the ground. I don't think we've had a moment, Bassam, like that in Israeli Palestinian history. And I think the heart of it has been this consensus that the Israeli authorities' treatment of Palestinians amounts to apartheid. Now, this is a concept. Now, let's start by being clear. Palestinians, including scholars, have been describing their lived reality as one of apartheid for decades, and not enough listened in the international community. But what we've seen in recent years is international and Israeli organizations increasingly independently look at the issues, do research, and reach their own conclusions. And we've had many different organizations reach a conclusion that what Israeli authorities are doing to Palestinians amounts to apartheid. And that's basically based on a clear-eyed assessment that between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea today, you have two groups of people roughly equal size. They live in the same area. One group is methodically privileged. The other group is systematically repressed solely because of who they are. And that's the simplest summation of the reality you have on the ground. And so these different reports have reached the same conclusion because it's the only conclusion you can reach when looking at that reality on the ground. So today you have not only a consensus among Palestinian civil society, you have major Israeli human rights groups, including the flagship group B'Tselem. But in late December, when the new Israeli government came to power, 27 Israeli human rights organizations used the term apartheid to describe Israel's treatment of Palestinians. You have Human Rights Watch, you have Amnesty International. Beyond that, you have other major global human rights organizations. You have the Human Rights Clinic at Harvard Law School. You have several prominent UN experts, including the experts on racism, housing, the occupied Palestinian territory. And by the way, Bassem, it's not just limited to human rights experts. You increasingly have other voices from civil society, including former director generals of Israel's foreign ministry, former current members of the Knesset. You have the former Secretary General of the United Nations, 5 former European foreign ministers. You have hundreds of European parliamentarians. And you have states, including South Africa and Namibia, but not just them.